Will explore the global landscape of embedded finance with a specific focus on the Indian market. The panel will discuss the strategies for implementing embedded finance across the value chain, the importance of partnership and ecosystem, emerging trends and challenges of integrating financial services into non-financial products and services. To understand more about this topic, which is shaping the future of embedded finance, strategies, partnership, and future trends, may I please call upon on stage the moderator of this session, Mr. Vivek Belgavi. So, Vivek sir is a partner fintech leader, alliances and ecosystem leader, PwC. So, sir will be sharing a PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure and privilege to be here this afternoon. I look after the fintech practice in PwC, which we started probably around 6-8 years back, and this is an area of passion. And if I have to pick up an area within the broader fintech, which we called quite early as one which has a lot of potential, was the embedded finance space. So today we're going to launch a report. I would request the presentation to come up on the screen. I will give you a flavor of what we have covered on the report so that when we have a discussion within our panel, we got some rough structure around which we could have a conversation. So the core area of embedded finance for us, and we called our thought leadership at that time called sachet products, was to say that selling financial services in many areas is quite complex. Well, there are many areas like payments, lending, etc., which have evolved. But we felt there is a market for specific spaces which are invisible, which can get embedded contextually. And none of it is really new. If, like, we were just chatting in a panel before we started, anyone who has taken a home loan knows that our insurance is bundled within that, is invisible. You don't even choose which insurance provider. You can ask for an option, but it's kind of de facto bundled. Travel insurance, all of us are comfortable with it. Just one or two examples. But the broad thematic was to see that can we replicate this story across the table. So in our report today, we have looked at, and it will get distributed to everyone, but I'll just give you a broad contour of the aspects we have studied. One aspect is to say which all products are relevant for it. My panelists today, we're going to focus quite a bit on insurance, which is a product which required a lot of sales channel to sell with, but with embedded, that ease has come in across both protection category as well as the risk categories. The second aspect we'll explore is how the broader digitization of the allied economy and ecosystem, whether it is the health industries, retail and consumer, commerce, so on and so forth, has made the rails possible for the embedment to happen. The third aspect is, which again we'll deliberate a little bit more in a panel discussion, is for the embedment to really happen, there has to be a lot of flexibility and agility in the manufacturers of these products, which could be the core insurance companies themselves or new age insurance companies, but who would require a lot more agile stack, because suddenly you're not controlling the product. Someone outside is controlling the product, you're doing a supply. A fair bit of evolution and transformation would be required on the supply side. So those are the broad thematics. With that, I'll just invite MC back on the stage to invite the panel. We'll go through the discussion and then come back and launch the report.
So now let me invite the panelists for this discussion. So starting from Mr. Arijit Chakraborty, Managing Director, Asia Pacific, Cover Genius. Can we please welcome sir on stage? Mr. Saurabh Mehta, Global Head of Affinity Business, insuremo.com. Mr. Chiragh Kirpalani, Founder and COO of Ayoconnect. Mr. Sumit Agarwal, SVP, Product and Business, MakeMyTrip. So you can take it over from here.
Thank you so much. I think we were just chatting before this conversation happened, and probably I'll kickstart from where we left off there. For the audience outside the embedded finance world, embedded insurance world, it at some point can look oversimplistic, because embedment as the act itself gives you a sense of just put it somewhere and forget it, it happens. So maybe as an opening query, why don't we peel that onion a little bit? Talk about what are the nuances in embedment I'll go across the room, maybe Arijit, I'll start with you. What are the nuances? What kind of product categories do you think are amenable, something which are not amenable? What are the sectors in your experience that you have explored with? I'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Vivek. And thank you for having me here. So to answer this question, I'll just spend a few seconds to discuss what we do as a company, because that will lead to that answer. So CoverGenius is, we are global leaders in embedded protection. And by which what we do is we enable world's largest digital companies to come up with insurance and protection solutions in the primary path of purchase. So take our clientele from large retailers like Amazon, eBay, Shopee, Flipkart in this part of the world, where we enable solutions, insurance solutions in their primary path. When you're buying, suppose, a gadget or a furniture, we will find our product available there. Similarly with OTAs, one of our partners is MakeMyTrip, Sumit is sitting here. Then we work with all the large OTAs globally, from Booking Holdings to Agoda, Skyscanner, MakeMyTrip and other guys, where we again provide similar solutions to them. And that cut across any digital, whether it's ride-hailing like Uber or Ola, or whether it's fintech like Revolut and other partners globally. Now, coming back to your question is, what are the sectors we are seeing where the embedded journey can work? And your first question was, what are the challenges for that? So answering this second question first is, the verticals we see is when you're putting something embedded, you need to make the product simple and seamless for people to understand. So what we do is coming up with products which are contextual by nature. So we map out what is the consumer journey in a particular platform, where a product can be introduced to create a product differentiation, and we plug in that particular product, which kind of in the same journey, you click on one checkbox, you go to the cart, you make the payment, you are done. Your policy issuance to operations to claims processing, everything is automated, right? So if you look at retail, travel, fintech, these are very easy bundled product which is available. But if you go to a higher, in terms of a premium value, suppose you're looking at a complex life insurance product or an investment linked product, or looking at an auto product where you need a more comprehensive understanding of what product you're buying, it is very difficult to distribute that as one-click online support, right? You need intermediary, whether it is a B2A to C, like an agency or someone intermediary to intervene and explain to you that product. So that's where I think embedded to a large extent is evolving, but is still scratching the surface on products which are more simplistic.
Wherever the advisory piece comes in, and we'll come back to that point, very valid point. Saurabh, from your experience, and again with your unique vantage point, where do you see the opportunities? And just a nuance on what really are the kind of products which work.
Cover a little bit on how the industry has evolved and what are the... Hello? Hello? Yeah. Hello? Yeah. So, just touching on sort of continuing from what Arijit was saying, right? Embedded insurance to what we are seeing currently is, you are right, is oversimplistic, right? We're actually from that $250 billion market that we want to hit. A lot of studies are saying, by 2030. I think currently we are scratching the surface. We are still working on simple products like warranties and travel and maybe credit life, going into embedded insurance. The point is, what is the key challenge in achieving that big 250 billion number? That's where we are heading, right? The challenge is your cost of experimentation. So right now, if you look at fintech companies, you look at wallets, everyone is trying to become a super app. When you're trying to become a super app, you want to sell multiple insurance products, but it is not that easy to reach the product market fit. To reach the product market fit, you need to experiment at a low cost. Now that low cost means, first of all, the channels who wants to launch it, the fintech company who wants to launch it, they should be able to launch faster, experiment, see what works, what doesn't work. But behind the scenes, there are insurance companies who are actually providing, and they are the manufacturers of that product. So what we do is we work on both sides of businesses, right? So we help insurance companies to become more digital, lower their cost of experimentation, because these are bite-sized products. right? We are not even talking about complicated products and heavy duty, higher ticket price items. We're talking about bite-sized products. So unit economics doesn't work if your cost of experimentation is high. So you need to be able to launch products really fast. You need to experiment really fast, see what works and move on and reach to the right product market fit. So again, I think it is tried and tested for simple products like travel and warranties and maybe credit life I was talking about. But if you want to go deeper into, how can you embed large ticket size item, what Arijit was saying, and even with more simple, on simple side also, more products can be explored. That is the challenge we need to overcome from a tech standpoint. And I think I'd probably leave it there.
Understood. Good point on cost of experimentation. Maybe in my mind, cost of service as well. Like it can't be. Well, selling advisory is important. Even the post-sales service is very costly. Intermediation will anyways come in. Chiragh, your views?
Hi. Thank you, Vivek. So I think in my opinion, we need to see the role of the provider, the enabler, us, Ayoconnect being an enabler in Indonesia. Actually, we power up about 17 banks to embed a couple of use cases, right from bill payments to lifestyle to even travel and payments, and also the so there's the provider, there's the enabler, and also the platform, right? So if we look at embedded, payments and lending, I think the platform really, really requires it and needs it, and they request the provider saying, "Hey, please plug in." It's a pull product, but then from a insurance standpoint, and also happy to learn from fellow panelists, insurance product or any other investment products is actually a push mechanism. Where we see is that the provider itself tends to say, "Hey, platform, please embed my experience, embed my journey, embed my product because I want to start selling, I want to tap into that market." So I think the challenges are fairly different, right? But where we see as an enabler, I do understand that when we work with banks, I think it's about they embed these use cases, but they're not the perfect guys around customer experience and the journey, right? And it's very important to how to provide that, how to identify that customer is passing through the entire experience till the very end, because when we embed, there is phases where you're actually passing through the provider's experience, jumping into the payment methods, which is actually powered by the bank, and then jumping back into a success or a failure transaction. And that piece is very important to figure out how the journey is, to be able to see a seamless experience, which I think is not very, stitched well yet comparatively. And there's a lot more innovation that can be done. I think that's something that I'm here open to learn and also to also contribute. Thank you.
Thanks, Chiragh. Good point on operational complexity is a lot more like under the water as opposed to what we see as.
Correct.
But I mean, you've been on the embedment side of things. What's your vantage point on what works and where are the opportunities?
So let me just do the customary part of thanking GFF and Vivek for inviting me to the forum. And a quick intro, I take care of fintech for travel at MakeMyTrip as a group. And over there we are building embedded finance, whether it is embedded insurance, embedded forex, embedded credit, throughout the travel journey. Now the short answer to your question, Vivek, is everything. I think embed is the way to go, right? And if I have to actually take that a little forward, and if you look back at times as to when insurance started, way back, I believe when people across the globe, or Europeans in particular, started exploring the sea route, is when for the very first time the risk of a ship getting lost in the sea or damage happening occurred. And marine insurance started. Now at that point in time, even if a ship was lost in the sea, it was there was no data which was flowing back. And the insurance companies were the custodians of data and thereby the custodians of risk, and they used to price and sell it off. But as population exploded, and in the modern day, there are micro needs. Everybody's perception of the risk is very different. The modern society requires all of these risks to be covered, and embed is the way to go forward. In one of the earliest forms, as I mean, warranty claim as one of the first form of embedded insurance, wherein if you are buying an appliance, you can cover yourself for the next 2 years or 3 years if anything goes wrong, the appliance company will take care of it. But with the advent of data, I think this entire underwriting has become far more simpler. Just to give an example, at MakeMyTrip, when COVID happened, travel came to a standstill. Nobody was traveling. The risk of COVID was very high. And the risk of getting COVID during travel was even higher. Now, when the risk of COVID was there and it was not possible to eliminate, but there was also another risk saying that in case I get COVID, how will I pay the huge medical expenses? And we were able to partner with some of the insurtech players and traditional insurance companies and thereby come up with a COVID insurance product, right? Depending on as to if you are traveling from a containment zone to a non-containment zone and so on and so forth. Differentiated price, which was not possible previously. So the short answer, Vivek, I think going forward, embedded in the future to cover all kind of micro needs which has actually emerged in the past decade or so.
Fantastic, Sumit. I think I got one follow-through question on this segment really is, when we talked about the use cases, we did touch upon areas like fashion, retail, travel, lifestyle, that broad category where embedment has happened. My question really follow through is that maybe we can go definitely across the panel. And we want to pick one example of a different industry where, and maybe a non-traditional one, because if embedment is happening where digitization is happening with simpler products, then again from an India market perspective, we see a bit of tech enablement happening in the MSME space, the whole supply chain of MSME. We're seeing it happening on the agri side, health industries. So a few other segments come in my mind. But if you're just picking your brains on what are the one or two unconventional or other than this major ones that you see as an opportunity. Anyone can go first. It's a question for all of us.
Yeah, I'll go first. So basically, as you pointed out, Vivek, like we started obviously with travel, retail, which is a conventional one. Auto opt-in whenever you're doing an Ola ride, right? Similar with Uber, what we launched is like a employment. If an Uber driver is not able to go for their own daily ride because of two conditions, like a weather condition doesn't permit that person, so that product is parametric, or there is the person has fallen sick, is unable to go, then we are also doing an income replacement for that product. So anything you can see from a parametric point of view, where you can get data out of that particular partner, whether it is cat risk. We do, there's a partner called RMS we have in Australia where we do caravan park against cat risk for that. Or we have launched products in California with Intuit, which covers earthquake cover for SMEs there. So a lot of things can be done from homeowner side to ride hailing to getting a loan or anything on the fintech side. So you can actually look at all these consumer touch points and create these insurance products to that. And one of the ways also we have seen through our services, sometimes when that product proposition is available, okay, your core conversion of the primary product also increases. So we have seen that there is an 8% increase when you introduce a protection product with a primary product. There is a higher chances of someone buying that primary product more because of the differentiation.
Interesting. Saurabh?
Yeah, I think I'll take a slightly different use case of the industry, which was not that great in embedded insurance, so to speak, right? So telco is that industry. So telcos, they have started doing some products on travel side. Of course, there's a trust factor there. You know, banks have it. Telcos have started entering that space. Now, one interesting product that we have seen across and is getting a lot of momentum is a product called stackable insurance, which means that it is tied back to the usage of your core product. Now, it can be tied back to your credit card usage, or it can be tied back to an underlying wallet that telco is promoting, or it could be tied to a phone top-up that you are doing via a telco. So the product that we are doing is one of the products in Africa with MTN and powered by IO Insurance. So that's essentially is a stackable product, meaning the more you top up, the higher your PA or life or whatever that is attached, right? The coverage keeps going up, but your policy number doesn't change. So that is getting a lot of traction because it is tied to their core business. It is actually helping them promote their core business, which is where I think eventually industries need to go. It is not just ancillary revenue, it should promote your core business.
Fantastic. Driving consumption. Great example. Chiragh?
Yeah. Jumping in, pretty much like I said, like we work with banks mostly. So we're starting to see requests from the bank itself saying, hey, I've got a lot of properties, distressed or basically owned by the bank right now, and want to start creating the embedded experience to start putting it in platforms. So the other way around, which banks were actually consuming a lot of the embedded experience from the other providers, but now they themselves want to become a provider, right? So I think that sort of shift is starting to happen. And again, like lending gives a very good spread for the bank, and this is a very important category. We're starting to see that trend. But on the other side, of course, we took an example of Indonesian Railways, which we work very closely with, and we started embedding that into multiple platforms and journeys. And previously, there was just, there was no seat booking, there was no to the entire where the ticket is issued, etc., etc. And now we've started, bringing those experiences on board, and we're starting to see a lot more uplift for the Indonesian Railways and also the platform. But again, previously to what we were discussing, people just, a lot of platforms like banks, they just embed it, but then they, the challenge is they forget about it, and they're like, hey, I ticked off my checklist, but then what can we do next? Can we actually increase the, improve the experience? Can we, do more to actually increase the spread? That's
great point. Great point. Just embedding doesn't mean sales. Thanks for bringing that out, Chiragh. Yeah. I know because you're embedded in the certain segment. Maybe I'll have a slightly different flavor of the same question for you. As you look at learning from others, and if you do mystery shopping, so what are the other sectors of embedment that you think of as a reference point?
Beyond travel?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for putting me on the spot. See, I believe, I very, very firmly believe that almost every sector is up for embed, right? So for instance, let us say that even healthcare, right? So if we today go for a annual medical health checkup, why should that not be followed with an insurance, right? Because the ability to understand the health condition increases significantly, right? If you see maybe a couple of years back, Tesla for the very first time disrupted the entire auto insurance and said that you should not be buying insurance for auto, basic heuristic statistics-led pricing done by some traditional insurance player. But they are setting up their own insurance company saying that your insurance should be basis how you drive. And I believe in India as well, there are many who are actually trying to do that, right? In travel, right? In travel, again, I think the kind of insurances which can be made available can be far more non-conventional, right? So there can be a protection for cancellation. Penalty is one of the biggest pain point in the travel industry. And if we can actually cover for that, or even maybe for, let's suppose for a mid-income Indian who is trying to make their first holiday trip to a destination where they want to go in and see snow. And maybe the person has spent a couple of lakh rupees and it does not snow. Should it be protected? Yes, I believe it should be protected, right? There can be an insurance cover, basically the parametric weather and everything else. So I believe a lot of not so conventional products should be out in the market in days to come.
Thank you so much for bringing this perspective, which is not that intuitive, but true. I mean,
Vivek, can I add?
Yes,
yeah.
please.
So what we're doing, or what we're seeing in our market, at least from our side, because we're embedding multiple journeys, we're trying to bring a segmentation on top and saying, hey, if someone's actually finished a journey through this, can we upsell that? And that's something that we hope to bring to the banks as well, and for them to understand that this can actually be much more seamless from one to the other.
Understood. We're going to build on that point and move to the next section. The core nature of an embedded finance requires multiple parties to come together. And that's the space of partnerships. While the mindset in many organizations has become open, both from the consumption like MakeMyTrip, including from a supplier end, and all of you are sitting in one part of this whole value chain. So really want to go around the room to share some examples of what does success look like that's part one of the question. And what are the typical challenges in this specific partnership story which can get better? Sumit, we can start with you, just do a little bit of reverse change.
Sure. So on the partnership front, Vivek, I believe, again, partnership is the way to go. It's not possible for every organization to do every single activity. If we see from an insurance point of view, there are a few stakeholders. There is an insurance company, if I may use the term a traditional insurance company. They can play the role of being the custodian of data, custodian of risk, being the underwriters. There are players like we have in the panel. In the panel, we work very closely with Cover Genius as well, who bring tech-first approach. They can bring two things into the platform, right? They can basically, one, allow quick launch of every single insurance by being the supply orchestrators, and at the same time, they can also ensure that a lot more data mining can happen to create newer insurance products. And then there are players like us in the insurance ecosystem who can then embed, who can, one, be the custodian of customer needs, and then they can also be the one who can actually distribute these offerings. So partnership does provide an ability for everyone to focus on their core, and that's the way to go.
Chiragh?
I think for us, we see joint UATs as being a challenge, and I mean, I'm going in a little bit more deep and core, because ultimately it's not just embedding, it's about, signing off at the customer level, needs the customer support, the customer experience from the supply side, the provider side needs to check off and know that, hey, this platform is going live, and what's the experience there, so that it shouldn't be discounted if someone's complaining or customer complaints happen. But I think there needs to be a framework that's created to build an open framework. In fact, if there is, someone should create it, whether that's from the government side or whether there's a private player creating that, for multi-party to come in and choose wherever they want and sort of bring that partnerships instead of one-to-one, and openness is created. That's my opinion.
Don't be shy. If you want to go technically a little deeper, because there will be some folks in the audience, then what paradigms work? Would sandboxes work? Like, just to build on that thesis, I worked a lot on the data side in my life. Yeah. We came across this company in Singapore called Data Republic, which was kind of creating a data escrow account between two firms. So if an insurance company was doing a partnership with Singapore Airlines for doing a cross-sell, now they were creating a data escrow account and a sandbox, allowing, because otherwise you need to play with equal flexibility in designing an intelligent user experience which is fulfilled, which is very difficult to do in parts. Like, any thematics like this, which have you come across?
I think just in the spirit of getting deep, right, I feel also the design sense, right, because ultimately platforms or supply side also dictate saying, hey, I want this kind of color, I want this kind of font, I want this kind of experience because this is how it is. I mean, you're losing out the fact that, ultimately we're working towards revenues and making money, but they go deep in this, which actually delays the experience of embedded journeys to go live. But again, very agreeing to my fellow panelists that, there is embedded journeys will start going to deeper roots, even if, like, healthcare was an example, even to the degree that what kind of salad do you eat next or what kind of diet do you think will actually be embedded in sooner or later in more platforms.
Sure. So you've seen on both sides of the equation, what's the partnership look like for you?
No, I think we are a partner-focused company overall. We have got a base of around 500 plus partners on our cloud ecosystem. And the reason we have gone in that direction, I mean, we support around 350 customers globally. And it's starting from insurance companies to brokers to fintech companies, wallets, travel, OTAs, anyone who wants to sell insurance can. But if you look at it, all of them have got different mindsets, different DNAs, different industries operate differently. Several things are important. For some, AI ML is very important. For some, low-code, no-code development is very important, for faster launches. For some, aggregating products on insurance and wellness, both sides are important. So we tend to work with, partners all over the globe. I mean, whether it's eKYC partners, whether it's AI ML companies, whether it's low-code, no-code companies, you cannot do everything in every industry. So we tend to, be in the center of bringing partners together with our API-first platform. And whatever is needed to augment their journey, whether it's KYC requirements, whether it's AI ML, whether it's faster development on UI UX, we work with partners to get that done. And that's the only way to grow. I think that's what makes it more scalable.
Understood.
Quickly, we have gone over time.
Almost out of time.
Yeah,
I didn't realize time flew, man.
So I think the success looks like on the partnership, what you said. We are also a completely distribution-focused insurtech. And with our single integration, how we are modeled is a single integration, we can enable multiple products in multiple markets at the same time with various different language capabilities. Now, how it works is, Sumit mentioned the MakeMyTrip example. Now, when it comes to very conventional insurance products, he already has partnerships with underwriters over the years. So for a company, a tech company like us to come and tell MakeMyTrip that we will replace all the relationship is not the viable commercial model, right? So that's how what we did is came up with, look at the white space opportunities every partner got. Like how we can innovate on these products. Can we introduce this rain, snow, these parametric products, or can we do a cancellation for any reason, which gives the flexibility to the customers? And then come up with these solutions and innovations and plug into these platforms. Now, Saurabh mentioned that the highest cost was the innovation, right? And that's we don't shy away from, because we manage our own risk in those ways, and we find ways where we can come up with these innovative products which can be plugged into that ecosystem and we can grow that.
So figure out the product market fit and work backwards. Great point. I wanted to discuss just the pains and challenges, but I think we have touched upon as everyone spoke about it. We're almost over time. We would just want to launch the report now and would like to thank my panelists for this engaging conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Thank you.
Thank you.